Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining and welcome. My name is Sinan and I'm delighted to host today's webinar on the Keystone Project. Keystone Project is a direct and strategic next step after the Catapult Future Foundation Program. The Future Foundation Program was launched by the key industry associations with the support of Luxembourg Stock Exchange, CSSF, and the Ministry of Finance. We've launched the program to identify key industry challenges and address them with a mutualized utility. Throughout the program, we've engaged with many stakeholders. Our working group members have helped us define use cases and define the requirements in order to drive future utility forward. Among many use cases we've looked at, from KYC, AML, counterparty due diligence, investor onboarding, regulatory reporting, we've identified that one of the key elements that joins all these use cases is data. How financial institutions are sharing data, obtaining data, and make sense out of data still causes a lot of challenges. It isn't about lack of the solutions. It is about the multiple devices, multiple softwares in place that still cause challenges for financial sector to drive value and not spend time on the admin work. We've collected many use cases and then defined the requirements in order to launch the call for application. The call for application was launched in December last year. The response to our call for action, we received 30 applicants. Our jury have evaluated all the applications and selected six. 6 companies have joined us for the one week bootcamp here in Luxembourg. During the intensive workshops and sessions, the finalists have engaged with experts, jury members, and steering committee members in order to finalize their proposals. The winning solution was provided by the governance COM. But while the journey of the Catapult program is slowly coming to an end, it's the Keystone project that will take us to the next phase. But before we go forward to the Keystone project, we've opened up the questions for this session, so please feel free to submit your questions. We will secure the time at the end to answer them. And I'm very happy that today I'm joined by the 2 of the steering committee members representing LPEA, Alan Dundon, Outer Domus, and Sinan from Hawksford. Thank you so much for being here today. And actually, thank you for being with us since day one. This initiative has been a bit of a journey for us. And if we look back and go back almost 3 years ago when the discussion started, what was about this program that made you join and support us?
Yeah, thanks, Anna. Firstly, delighted to be here. And you know, when I look at our industry association, so the L3A is the Alternative Administrators Association. And when you look at the administration part of that, it requires a lot of work on data and documents. And part of our mission statement, probably the most important part of our mission statement, is promoting Luxembourg as the operational hub of choice for global alternative managers. Now, if you want to be the hub of choice, you've got to be damned efficient. So this was extremely compelling from the start. I think we'll talk a little bit later about some of the other factors, but it was a natural time to start on this project.
So the right fit for the industry, driving collaborative efforts, but what else did you expect from this initiative and what value it's supposed to bring to the market?
Let me take this one. Expectations can only be sky high, looking at everyone that is involved in the project. All the big players in the ecosystem have contributed to the outcome, which is now the Keystone project. So expectations are very high. Funnily enough, from the get-go, we thought, let's get a quick program, something that we can show the market that this program is doing things right, get a quick win. We failed miserably, obviously, in doing that. We sit here now in front of a huge challenge. But it's a necessary challenge. The more we all think and talk about it, this is really about the competitiveness of Luxembourg. So the expectation is really through this Keystone project, erase inefficiencies and raise the competitiveness of Luxembourg. I know these are strong words, but that's what we believe in.
And as you mentioned, the journey is not an easy one, and unfortunately, there are no low-hanging fruits. Every use case that we have analyzed is coming with its own challenges and specifics. But what is it about the institutional counterparty due diligence that makes it the right fit for this very first edition of the program?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of reasons. I mean, there's a multitude of use cases here. And I actually, one of them, but we did talk a lot about, should the first use case be KYC and AML? We said, no, let's not do that for a number of reasons. But certainly, when I'm asked about this initiative, they say, oh, is that the KYC AML initiative? It is absolutely not. KML AYC is a good use case, but it's one of many. We felt that the due diligence on counterparties was extremely important to start with, because there's a ton of data and a ton of documents that are going out on a repeated basis across multiple parties, and it's the same data, it's the same documents. So let's try and fix that, and let's try and reduce those tens or hundreds of sets of data to one set of data that we can send out. And if we get that right, I think we end up with a market that is hugely efficient, back to my sort of earlier point. So I think the second thing around that is, but by doing a due diligence, hard word, isn't it, across counterparties, it just keeps us sort of connected within the Luxembourg ecosystem. So we're not going out to third-party managers, we're not going out to the bigger world, let's say. We can do all of this test within Luxembourg, and where we get it right, we can then build on that to other use cases.
Right. So one of the risks that we have always looked at is whether our message is clear, whether the market understands what we're trying to achieve. But as we are now preparing for the pilot, the Catapult program is coming to an end. What other risks do you see when we try to take that next step and go from the concept to the actual action?
I mean, the risk is obvious. It's take up. The project needs to convince counterparties that this is a good, sound project. We believe we've tackled this by making sure that everyone is involved. Again, to my earlier point, so all the players of the markets have been involved, know what we're trying to achieve, know the risk. We have been speaking about that, and we will continue to do so throughout the Keystone project to make sure that there's enough confidence for a good take-up. The second risk is also fairly obvious, is we should not try to be too ambitious. I think we need to, in Luxembourg, we say, Kirche am Dorf lassen, leave the church in the village. We need to make sure that what we launch works and is done in a way that we can bolt on other use cases onto that over time. So I think those are, for me, the two key risks.
Yes, and with the Catapult Foundation program, we had our ambition was to actually set up the foundation for the future success. So we took all the steps and we tried to involve the market every step of the way to get the validation, to get the first few yeses. And then going to a pilot again, what do you think makes this initiative ready to go? Is the market ready? Are the counterparties, are people you talk with, are they willing and interested in testing the pilot?
Yeah, and actually you talk about it now, but we started this a couple of years ago, right? Yeah. And so this is and the reason I think we did that, I mean, I put it down to three factors. There's many more, but I think about technology, I think about data, and then I think about the overall market. I mean, technology, 5 years ago, you could not have taken this on. I mean, systems and the way we work and the processes we use today are completely different to what they were even 5 years ago. It's extremely fast moving. I think for the first time we have a chance to really build this utility. I think the second thing is around data. I mean, I don't think we had the need for as much data about 5 years ago than we do today. If you look at who needs data, everybody needs data, whether it's the regulators, whether it's the investment managers looking for data to explain their performance to investors, whether it's the administrators. Everybody needs more data. So this is going to look to solve that data duplication issue. And then third, and very quickly, is market. This is a market utility we're looking to build. Built for the market, by the market. That has never been tried before.
So as we our final words for the for everyone who joined. What would you like to say to everyone who just heard about the initiative and is considering joining? What's the message now?
Get involved is the message. I think this has the potential to change how Luxembourg works, exchanges data, and the right people should get involved to make sure we get this right.
Yeah, and I would just add, I mean, I think getting involved now gives people the ability to get involved and to shape the product over the build period. Best to get involved now and build a product rather than end up as an end user.
Thank you so much for these insights and sharing your experiences. Before I hand it over to Miriam, we have a live poll. Please submit your answers if why you joined. For now, that's it from this section. We're handing over to Miriam to show the prototype of the Keystone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. I'm Miriam, Head of Product, and today I'll walk you through our Keystone prototype. What you're going to see today is not yet a living platform. This is intentional. This prototype represents what we have aiming to build a concept during the MVP, and it will be shaped by our pilot clients who will actively validate value to provide feedback and guide prioritization from day one. So from the beginning, it's crucial to see that, okay. So with this prototype, it's critical from the beginning that this platform will deliver immediate tangible value, and everything you will see today is designed with that objective in mind. So starting with the dashboard, this view that delivers two key outcomes. First, it will give you a global overview of your expanding business, and you can immediately see what has changed across countries, entities, and counterparties to understand how your global feed is evolving. And also, it enables rapid detection of risks and action point. Under this overview, you could see configurable widgets such as access requests, document expirations, and items that requires review. And those widgets are not fixed. This will be defined and refined with our pilot clients based on what they need to act on quickly every single day. At the bottom of the screen, users also have access to continuous markets and regulatory updates, similar to Bloomberg-style feed. It allows them to keep real-time on market movements, updates, and key events that might impact their counterparties or jurisdictions without leaving the platform. The goal here is to combine internal operational visibility with external market intelligence into one single unified workspace. On the right hand of the screen, within this right side panel, we could check our contextual chatbot that allows users to ask questions related to the platform, data, or processes. I can give you an example here about how the experience would look like. Alongside this, we have also the notification center that centralizes all the critical alerts and pending actions, such as access request, documents updates required, compliance review, or other time-sensitive events to ensure users that always have clear visibility on what is required attention at the right moment. The platform could also include built-in support and escalation management. And with this additional assistance is needed, users can easily raise and track escalation directly to support team with the full context preserved, eliminating any fragmented back and forth manual follow-up. And finally, we have an interesting feature as well, which is the messaging. This integrated messaging capability, it will enable direct secure communications with counterparties and internal stakeholders. All interactions will remain inside the platform to ensure a smooth and uninterrupted experience without forcing users to switch to email and external tools. From an operational efficiency standpoint, this combines significantly to reduce the friction, to accelerate the resolution time, and also create a single source of truth for all actions, communications, and decisions. So let's have a look to a concrete use case. Suppose I need to focus on counterparties in Luxembourg. I can filter my list, whether I want to check for investments, students, or any specific examples. Let's take State Street as an example. So here I can see within the ownership chart who's involved, whether in investment. So with this entity view, I can access to the core information and I can hand over all the information needed about other entities. If I go to the bottom of the screen, I can have an easy access to the information, all the uploaded documents, and also a complete audit trail that tracks every interaction with actions related to the counterparties. And this will ensure a full transparency, traceability, and also compliance. If this due diligence requires further, I can follow the control and ownership trail to navigate up to the ultimate parent and understand the control structure across entities. So to summarize, this prototype today will demonstrate how we intended to deliver clarity, efficiency, and mutualization from the day one, and how our pilot clients will actively shape the platform to ensure it delivers tangible value at the scale. Thank you for listening. I will hand over to Henrik.
Thank you, Miriam. That's a fantastic demo. And also thank you to Anna for moderating the first section that we've just had. This section is going to focus around, I guess, the practical realities of mutualization, the challenges that we see with counterparty due diligence, and then really kind of then looking to the future as well around some of those potential future use cases. I'm joined here today by Cara Browne from EQT, and also by Eva Devine from Aztec. They're both pilot participants, so I'm very excited to be able to spend some time with them to understand why they decided to take that first step. The focus then is, first and foremost, then if we start, well, why are you, really here today? Can you tell us a little bit about, some of the challenges that you have personally experienced in your different roles, remembering that Cara kind of represents asset management and Eva represents asset servicing as well. So we have two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, sure. I'm really happy to start. So I guess, Henning, in my day-to-day, my main role is the oversight of not only our regulated service providers here in Luxembourg, but also if there's a need within my organization when we have to provide any sort of due diligence across the board as we get into different contractual relationships to facilitate our ManCo that's here. So within that, I end up having to request loads and loads of information on a regular basis, and I use other firms sometimes to help me out with that. Because we just, in terms of headcount, I'm currently a team of one that does that physically here, although bigger organization in other jurisdictions. But it's just not possible. I end up sending emails to the same groups of people, asking, for example, for the same SOC reports, ISAEs, or the equivalent. And then instead of actually focusing on the content, I would be sitting there just chasing after documentation. So for me, having any sort of utility that really could plug us in to allow for a consistent and up-to-date, I'll call it folder or set of documents that I need for my purposes would be huge in general. And then it would allow me just to tap in when needed, rather than spend so much time out of my day. Because I also, on the other flip side of doing the provider oversight, I handle largely the relationship aspect with all of our providers. So that entails, if there's any sort of escalation, incidents, day-to-day BAU that needs assistance, both internally and externally, they'll come to me. So this is just one piece of the overall role that I play here. Amongst doing this. So I'm really excited to be a part of this. I think there's a massive benefit for not just myself, but my organization in general, and certainly Luxembourg as a whole. So
Super. So from an Aztec perspective, I'm group head of depository services. So, anybody working in or with depositories knows that due diligence is something that is quite a significant piece of work for us. And similar to your point, we spend a huge amount of time just sending out requests for information and chasing various different legal entities, at least 90 in Luxembourg alone, for various different amounts of counterparty due diligence. And that, as you mentioned, Cara, is all before you actually even receive the information and can begin to do the actual work of analysing it and understanding it, which is the real value add, right? And I'm very lucky. I have a fantastic team that do that, so I don't have to be involved in all the chasing. But it is a huge amount of work, and is it the most satisfying and rewarding work for employees to be chasing out, sending out emails and chasing people, and similar for the recipients, for our clients and counterparties, all these emails asking for the same information. It's not a great experience, right? So anything that would help make that a smoother and easier process, both for us and our employees, but then also our clients, I think would be a benefit to the jurisdiction as a whole.
Yeah. So just staying with you then, Eva, this concept of mutualization is different than standardization. Standardization meaning that everyone has to follow or comply with the same standard. How do you see, I guess, this concept of mutualization then really bringing value to this initiative?
Yeah. I think that the really interesting part is having that access to real-time information, right? And the ability to be able to share your information once you maintain it on the platform, and that anybody who needs it then can pull for that in real time. So you move away from all of these email chasers and so on, and you can make sure that the information that you're sharing is the validated data that you want to share, and you share it once. So it's an operational efficiency really there, I think, for everybody. Which is
such a good point. It really is. I don't know how many times that I say, do you have an update on this?
Yeah.
Our auditors need XYZ, and they're like, oh, it's not available yet. But just having something that is just always ready, you can check quickly, or they could access it themselves, which would be sort of the huger bit of all of this in general. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree with that more. We spend so much time with emails, truthfully.
So if we then move on to, I guess, the next section of this discussion, which is then more about adoption and risk. Obviously, adoption is bigger than just Luxembourg. Luxembourg is the second largest financial center in the world. It's the largest fund center in Europe. It's one of the largest financial centers in the world. It's not just funds. So where we then look to adoption, of course, we're starting here, but then everything that we do here could have, global benefits, global ramifications. And maybe I'll start with you, Cara. What do you see as kind of helping this to kind of land well within your organization?
Yeah, I think, at least from our side, anything that's going to make our lives a bit easier, more efficient, is really what we're keen on. Also cost-wise. I don't think I'm the only organization that is currently keeping an eye on how we spend our investors' money. So I think that's certainly a big piece of this. So instead of having redundant, overarching, requests for information, and then it draws out, and then you have to add modules to service providers, or maybe you're not happy with what you have and you need to turn around and change that. Having this sort of one-stop utility that allows us to grab what we need when we need it would be a game changer for us, I think. And then it would also, I think, give a bit more comfort to my headquarters, for example, in Stockholm. They could currently see everything that's going on. And for us, that would be massively well received, at least within our organization.
Yeah, I think so. Neutrality, I guess, of this utility. Yeah. This is the key point. We're talking about a market utility. We're not talking about a solution that's kind of owned by any single organization. Eva, how would you see, I guess, the adoption working from a neutrality perspective, and then kind of governance? How do you how can we take the risk out of this?
I think, you know, the fact that you own your own data is fantastic, right? Because you share then the information, the data that you want to and that you need to share. What will be really key is building the trust in the platform, right, for adoption and uptake, that people can trust that, you know, the cybersecurity and so on will be key. That is how that data is shared. So that's going to be really important. And obviously then the integration as well with all the different counterparty systems and so on. So how easy is it going to be to take that data and do something with it?
And I think that is always what we hear, right? It's who's going to own the data? Well, you're going to own it yourself. No one is implying that they're going to have a massive data center that's owned anywhere. You will own your own, and you'll be the one that's allowing the permission to access it, which is more powerful, I think, and certainly more secure.
You control it, right?
Yes,
so you can decide who gets access to that, and you can ultimately upload and change whatever information you need. So, but I think the trust there and how that will work is going to be key.
Agree.
Great. And in today's I guess demo that Miriam gave earlier on, this is the visual platform that some organizations or many organizations will want to access so they can see things, but many larger organizations, I expect, like an Aztec or an EQT, will be fully API'd,
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
pushing and pulling, you know, as and when needed.
That would be our aim for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's you need operational efficiency from this, right back to your point earlier. You know, and our clients are looking for that. We also want operational efficiency. So how it'll integrate there will be really key.
Completely. Yeah. I think that's going to be the key for sure. The previous session, they were talking about data. It is all about data now. That's always the ongoing discussion that's being had, not only when you speak to other organizations like yours, but that's certainly what's always heavy on our roadmap in our business planning for the next year is how are you integrating? What's your upcoming tech initiative? How does that build into the infrastructure, and how can we tap in to share information more readily? So I would say certainly if we can get this right, it's really, for my organization, game changer. Manco's asset managers for sure.
Fantastic. So then if we're thinking then about, I guess, the future vision, and, you know, the future vision can encompass other use cases. It could be regulatory reporting. It could be a number of different things. But, you know, there's the how do we make sure there's value from day one? What else could come up? But then also, how can we then make sure that we are, you know, that we're aligning for the industry, I guess, as well, and on those future, you know, value propositions. And maybe have you already considered? Have you started to have a think about what else could come? I know that Anna referenced a few examples, but.
I mean, I think counterparty due diligence is a great place to start, but definitely once the infrastructure is there and you can, you know, prove the concept works and how all of that will actually play out, I would definitely be very curious to see how could you adapt that to maybe say AML KYC, because there's a huge amount of data that is going across organizations and needs to be refreshed and updated on a very regular basis. So there's definitely, I think, many more use cases. You know, you can think about reporting and many other things. So yeah,
for sure. I think at least again, a big area, especially for our newer CEO, is the client experience. So touching on that, as we've grown and we continue to do that and grab market share across the globe, it's how can we allow for our investors to bring their information in once and then allow for all of our admins to access it. It becomes really bumpy and really frustrating when they're being asked for the same information over and over again. And if there's a way for us to at least kind of smooth that out and make it a bit more crisp for them and tell a bit more of a story, like, oh, you've already got your stuff in here. We see you're good, but are you able to upload just one more piece? You know, it's an easier ask than saying, I need 47 documents. And then how did you, you know, derive your income before we can even have a conversation with you? So I think at least for that experience,
refreshing it,
the refresh itself depending on what jurisdiction you're looking at. So again, we have those multi-jurisdictional challenges. So Asia is certainly part of our infrastructure now. So they have different requirements than Luxembourg versus the United States, for example. That's our real life challenges that we're facing going into 2026 and beyond, I should say.
And so also looking to the future, we're also seeing, I guess, Europe-wide regulatory initiatives coming in, such as the European Single Access Point, electronic IDs. Eva, do you see this as kind of complementary? Is this
Absolutely, because it will provide a platform where you can, again, this is about exchanging data, right, and how you receive it. So for me, it will support all of that, and eventually, you could be looking at how can you standardize some of that data a little bit more. So it's all complementary. And ultimately, if this is something that we can deliver in Luxembourg, I think it goes a long way towards that operational efficiency, which is important to our clients, important to service providers, and something that we're all looking to achieve, right?
For sure. I mean, we definitely face, even just within our own jurisdiction, all the cross-border workers that are coming across. So it's not just Lux specific. We're talking about all of Central Europe for sure. And then if we can create those waves, I mean, this is a game changer for this industry. For me, I find this to be one of the most interesting financial hubs here in Luxembourg, just because of the influence that we have in our organizations, which you heard on the previous panel. And then certainly just the, I'd say, number of companies that are interested in coming to Luxembourg to do business. So we're really getting a really broad view of what that looks like in the near future. So for me, this would be a game changer if we can at least start with this, like we said, start with this, get this right, and then expand further. Absolutely.
And so just following up on that, you're one of the, let's call it the earliest pilot participants, in the sense that you've been running with the Steerco since for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
What is it that's really kind of made you kind of really want to put your hand up and fight for this?
At least I thought in the last 2+ years, we've had a really amazing set of stakeholders that have been a part of these steering co meetings that we've had, and then it started to pick up some pace. We had an amazing boot camp, which was so interesting, thanks to the LHoFT and Anna running it as the main project manager. And I really saw during that week some serious potential. And of course, that's when governance.com was able to, I'd say, demonstrate and illustrate the understanding of what we had been talking about for so long. And that in itself was finally that next, like, oh yes, we're getting somewhere, and I was getting excited. And then there was just so many like ideas that were coming. I don't even think we could capture it all on one piece of paper, where we're like, okay, let's, like write that down for later. And then you could see that when we got into the next set of steering codes, people started to get really excited about it. So for me, seeing it actually go from something on paper and evolve into something that's really happening now is super exciting, and makes me so energetic about it.
Yeah.
And I know you're newer to it. But...
Yeah, no, but Eva, you also, you've also shown a lot of excitement. We're very happy to have you here as well.
Yeah, no, I'm delighted to be here, and this is, I'm not as close to it, but obviously, I'm on the board of the LHoFT as well. So working with Alan and Sinan, I've been aware of the project and what's been going on in the background. So when the opportunity came along to participate and be part of the pilot, we were very keen to get involved. Ultimately, because we can make sure then that we can help shape how this will actually come together and form, and what that's going to look like. And we're really keen that this is something that will help solve a problem for our clients, and that will ultimately then be an operational efficiency for us as well. But that client experience is going to be key. So we're quite eager to be involved and delighted to be part of that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Absolutely. It's really those pilot participants who really get to have that seat at the table and help steer the ship.
Absolutely. I mean, I want to be in the party, so
we don't want FOMO.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So I think we've kind of covered, most of the elements that we wanted to cover. There is still the possibility for our listeners to post on the Q&A, and we can try and address your questions at the end if there are questions. But whilst we do that, I wanted to first of all do some thank yous. So first of all, apologies on behalf of Ian Atkinson, our CEO. He wasn't able to join us today. He's unwell. He would have loved to have been there, and he'd done a great job moderating the panel as well. I wanted to thank Anna for doing such great work, and I wanted to thank especially the LHoFT for both hosting us today and for sponsoring this entire program so far with the coordination efforts and so on. I also want to thank all of the institutions that have been involved, the associations, and really the ecosystem partners who've helped to shape this entire journey. This is by no means step one. There's been many steps beforehand, but this is now where some of that heavy lifting is going to come into for the proof of concept, where we're going to take this idea, this concept, and we're going to turn it into reality. And we will need your help in getting there, and you will have the opportunity to shape what integrations are needed, how are we delivering value from day one, what's the governance going to look like, all of these elements. So we would love, honestly, for as many of you to join us as possible, and also to encourage your clients or your counterparties, those really critical actors within the industry to join us too. So next steps then are to go through the proof of concept to make sure that there is actually some value to be had here, but then to shape that minimum viable product when we're ready to go live, when we're ready to start sharing data, when we're ready to start to then consider how we can offer this up to the rest of the industry and to the ecosystem in Luxembourg. What we really want then is this call to action, which is if you want to get involved, now's the time. I think everyone's been very clear. I think Sinan made that great case as well earlier on. Now is the time. And if you want to do that, then there's plenty of ways. I think many of us who've presented today, so you can reach out to us. But most importantly, we do have our website, which is www.keystone.lu, where you can then register to receive updates. You can register to participate, to have a more detailed demo as well. So I'm just going to have a quick look then to see whether we have any questions. Okay, we do have a question. And the question here is, just make sure this works. Is there a plan to focus on initial users? For example, those pushing their data or those consuming? For example, depositories, fund admins, distributors, investment managers, etc. Important to understand what scale can be demonstrated from whom. So from your perspective, is there a specific focus that you'd like to look at? And I'm happy to complement as well.
I'm pretty new. Obviously, I'd love for depositories to be a focus. That's my word, and we cover a little bit of everything as well. But I think we need to have a look at what really would make sense in terms of you need to start with something, right? So it's probably something that we need to.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been advocating already, since I do have the network of both admins, depots, and other institutions that I interact with. Absolutely, I've been at least sharing what's happening with with this project, the initiative, and now that we have the prototype, and most of at least my relationships have been very interested in understanding what are the next steps, what does that look like, and certainly to your point, whatever the legal entity could be here in Luxembourg, for example, if we set it up for us and we were like, oh, you want your DD, head up there and go grab it, and then this becomes where we start really showing how we can use this. So I think at least across
it will work.
Yeah.
Right? If it works for depository, it should work.
Yeah.
For fund managers, for administrators. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously going to be small things that sometimes are not possible. Like if you get into some of the granularity, for example, you're not sharing your internal policies necessarily. You usually have those available on site, for example. But I would say largely,
infrastructure.
Yeah, it'll be similar for all of the things that you typically need to share and make available for not only your internal but your auditors, both internal, external, depending on what your cycles are. But yeah, for sure, I advocate constantly for it. So for me, it's everyone, not just one area.
But also in practical terms, if you want to be part of the MVP, if you want to be, a pilot participant, then you need to be involved in the proof of concept. So, pragmatically, what are we looking for? We're looking for 10 to 12 committed pilots who can work with us to test the proof of concept. And we want to have representatives across the industry. I think in practical terms, we've had a lot of interest specifically as it relates to alternative investment funds because of the very high manual nature of a lot of the activities that take place in that business. But as a reminder, this isn't just about alternative investment funds. This is the entire financial services industry. And we also have support from the insurance associations, the banking associations, and so on and so forth. So we are looking for asset managers, asset servicers, banks, distributors, and technology partners as well. We hope to have one or two fintechs joining us as early adopters or as pilot participants as well as part of this journey. So please do register your interest. Hopefully we'll have too many and we'll have to have some form of a selection process. This is really an opportunity to shape the industry, to shape the utility, and to get value from day one. So I'm just looking to see if there are any further questions, and I think that really kind of captures up our time. So I want to thank you for your strong interest. Thank you for listening. Thank you to our participants for coming. Thank you again to the LHoFT for hosting us, and we look forward to getting as much of you interested as possible. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.